Good morning, everybody. Today is going to be our last day where we're multiplying fractions, and we're going to be looking at some word problems. And I chose to do this because when we move into division, it's really important to understand the language involved in telling us whether we need to divide or multiply. Okay, it's one thing to just go ahead and multiply some fractions or divide some fractions, but in a real world situation, we need to understand when to do what. All right, so let's focus in on the language that some of these questions use to tell us that we're multiplying. Okay, these are all going to be multiplication, but let's see if we can pick out the language that tells us to multiply. And I'm going to take out my highlighter and highlight any important words. So here we go. The Garcia family volunteers at the Chestnut Street Community Gardens. One half of the garden is used for growing vegetables. 2/3 of the vegetable section is used for growing carrots. What fraction of the garden is used for growing carrots? So, I guess if we had a garden, let's draw ourselves a little garden. Let's say we had a garden, right? And this is our garden. Well, we see that half the garden is used for growing vegetables. So we could say like half of it's for vegetables and maybe the other half's for like flowers, all right? So half the vegetables used for growing vegetables. Check. 2/3 of the vegetable section is used for growing carrots. So that means that 2/3 of this section, if we split this section into 1, 2, 3 equal parts, well, 2/3 of them are for carrots. We could say this section's for carrots, this section's for carrots, and then this section's for something else, right? Some other vegetable. So we'll just keep the V in there for vegetable. What fraction of the garden is used for growing carrots? So we want to just know what fraction of the garden is for carrots. All we want to know is this section, right? What fraction is used for growing carrots? So basically they're saying that 2/3 of the half is for carrots. So in other words, when we multiply this, we want to be saying, all right, well, what's 2/3 of or times, what's 2/3 of 1/2? Okay, and drawing a picture there I think is helpful because it shows us that what we're really looking for is this 2/3 of the half. So what is 2/3 of a half? Well, 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And then we can simplify. We can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that means 1/3 of the entire garden, right? 1/3 of the whole thing is for carrots because 2/3 of the half is for carrots, okay? So in this case, we took a piece of a piece, right? 2/3 of a half, a part of a part. When we take a part of a part, that's multiplication with fractions. Let's look at another example. All right, let's look at this one. So here we got Kylie and her mom. Kylie and her mom need blue fabric. Okay. Each yard of blue fabric costs $4. So that's each yard of blue fabric is $4. If they buy 4.5 yards of blue fabric, how much will it cost? So this one's a little different because we're not taking a part of a part here. Instead, we're saying, all right, I'm buying 4.5 yards, and each yard costs $4. So what's $4 times that 4.5 yards, right? 4.5 yards, or sorry, $4, 4.5 times, right? So, we're gonna have $4 for the first yard, $4 for the second yard, $4 for the third yard, $4 for the fourth yard, and then it looks like a part for that. So what's half of 4? 2? A half of that, right? Okay. So in this case, we've got $4 4.5 times. So let's do that. To do that, first we have to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction, right? So multiply and add. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9 times, or sorry, 9 halves, right? Because we got to keep the denominator. 9 halves times 4, and we're going to turn that into a fraction by saying 4 over 1. So let's multiply. 9 times 4 is 98, 27 is 36. 2 times 1 is 2. All right, let's turn that back into a mixed number. How many 2's are in 36? Well, let's see, 36 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract, and I get 1. Bring down the 6. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 8 times 2 is 6. So it's 18, right? So 36 halves is 18. So that means they're going to spend $18 on the 4.5 yards. Let's see if it worked out this other way, right? When I said $4 for 1, $4 for 2, $4 for 3. That's 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18. It equals 18. Okay? So in the first situation, we were taking a piece, right, of a piece. In the second situation, we were taking that $4 and multiplying it 4.5 times. So 2 different questions, but both multiplication. Let's get one more together. All right, I'm going to switch to my highlighter. All right, so let's see. Half of the neighborhood volunteers, half of the neighborhood volunteers at the community center. So half of the neighborhood volunteers at the community center. Let me just move myself over a little bit. Sorry, guys. Let's see. 2/5 of the volunteers are under 20. So there's that word of again, right? We saw that in the first one. We saw that in the first question. Half of the garden is used for vegetables, 2/3 of the vegetable section. So here we got another of question, a piece of a piece, right? If we've got all the volunteers, if this is all the volunteers, V for volunteers, well, half of the, actually that's not a V, that should be an N for neighborhood, right? So this represents the entire neighborhood, the whole town of Huntington or Chester or whatever. Well, half of the neighborhood volunteers, right? 2/5 of the volunteers, so part of this. So if we split this into fifths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. Let's see, 1 2/5. So right here, 2/5 of the volunteers are under 20. Are under 20. How many volunteers are under 20? So we're going to take a piece of a piece, right? Half of the neighborhood volunteers. Part of those volunteers are under 20. How many are under 20? So this is another multiplication question, but instead of doing something repeated, we're taking a part of a part. So let's see. Half of the neighborhood volunteers, and then 2/5 of the half are under 20. How many volunteers are under 20? So let's figure it out. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. We can simplify this, right, because they're both even. They're both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So that means that 1/5 of the neighborhood volunteers and is under 20, right? This represents 1/5 of the whole neighborhood. Okay, so I would like you to try this one on your own. It is a mixed number problem. All right, so read it and go ahead and solve it and bring it to your